I would be I would be every year in Woodford for Yom Kippur. And when the announcement came on the bimah, Yizkor, it was time for me and many people to leave. The shul was emptied. The only people who stayed were the people who wanted to actually say Yizkor. And, it was an opportunity to have a break. However, looking back, there is one big problem with this custom, and that is that many people like myself never actually experienced what Yizkor was. Yes, if you haven't lost a relative, then maybe it's right to leave and give those who have lost a close relative time to reflect on Yom Kippur, a very holy day. Day where we feel part of the Jewish people. It's not just in shul where in a normal year we would gather as a community, have an appeal, hear the sermon, pray together, sing together, and experience all the things that we experience on Yom Kippur, but it's also throughout history as well. We remember the 10 martyrs in the additional service in Musaf, the 10 martyrs, rabbis who fought for freedom in the Jewish independence, in the Bar Koch rebellion, in the war, the first Roman Jewish war. They fought for the ability to learn Torah in freedom, and they did teach Torah, and we mourn their loss. We also remember all the Jews who had to suffer persecution throughout the centuries. All of that is done Yom Kippur. We remember the service of the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, as he came out of the Holy of Holies and the entire Jewish nation was surrounding the temple on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a day to feel part of the Jewish people. And so here I'm going to say the two prayers, the two communal prayers that are of modern significance in our Yizkor service, and I really hope that by doing it, and by doing it in this place, that many people who maybe haven't experienced Yizkor before on Yom Kippur can pause and reflect before it in order to prepare. And before I say those prayers, I'll tell you where I am. I'm in Har Herzl. Har Herzl is where Theodor Herzl is buried, where many of Israel's presidents and prime ministers are buried, and most of all, it is where thousands, tens of thousands of Israeli soldiers and victims of terror are buried. On Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Remembrance Day, this place is packed with people, as all Israel's military cemeteries are, of who are mourning lost relatives, whether from recent times or throughout the existence of Israel. And what's significant also about Har Herzl is its location next to Yad Vashem. And we can just see over here, behind me, is Yad Vashem. You can maybe make out next to the thin tree that there's the glass roof, the famous glass roof of Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem is, of course, Israel's Holocaust memorial. And these two hills, these two memorials are juxtaposed because this is the story of the Jewish people in modern times. That the Jewish people managed to, went through the Holocaust, and we lost 6 million victims, and we remember that here in Jerusalem, and likewise we also remember the sacrifices made by those people who fought for the state of Israel. Those two events were very different, but they are also profoundly linked, and partly they were linked by chronology. They were also linked by the people themselves. There were many people who were Holocaust survivors, who fought for Israel, who moved to Israel, and it is ultimately the story of our people. And it's not just me standing here by Yad Vashem, but on Har Herzl I think is significant. It's also the memorial behind me. This is a memorial made in 2004 called the Neitzer Acharon Memorial. It is Neitzer Acharon means the last shoots, the last flowerings. And you can see that the memorial is on the floor, and it's in the shape of a house. You can just see there. And on it are names of soldiers who were Holocaust survivors who came here to Israel, and they fought and died in the War of Independence, and they left no living relatives. Their whole family was wiped out in the Holocaust, and then they died here, and that was the end of their family. It's a particularly poignant and tragic memorial, because there are so many wonderful stories of Holocaust survivors who rebuilt their lives. And we all know that there are, for each one that that did succeed in doing that. There were many more that sadly did not. And especially for these people who gave so much of their own personal lives in the Holocaust and afterwards as well. We owe them a debt of incredible gratitude, and that's why I decided to come here to this memorial. You can see here behind me the end of the other part of the memorial. The roof of the house, and then this is the body of the house. You can see that it's severed, and the inscription says Habayit shehayasham ve'inenu, the house that was here and is no longer. Habayit sheichlu livnot po v'lo yakum, the house that they could have built here in Israel, but it didn't get built. Hemayun netza acharon leveitam ve'inam, they were the last shoots of their family, and they are no longer. So, in the memory of particularly these Holocaust survivors who fought for the state of Israel, but also in memory of all Holocaust victims and all those who fought and died defending the state of Israel, we're going to say the prayers that we say in Shul and Yizkor for both Holocaust victims and also Israeli soldiers. We will start with Holocaust victims. El malei rachamim dayan almanot v'avi yitomim ana techeshev titapak l'dam Yisrael shenishpach kamayim hansei menucha nechona al kanfei hashechina b'malot kadoshim v'torim kazohar ki amirim u'mazhirim et nishmoteihem shel rivavot alfei Yisrael anashim v'nashim ילדים וילדות שנהרגו ונשחטו ונשרפו ונחנקו ונקברו חיים בארצות אשר נגע בהן גת הצורר הגרמני וגרוריו. כולם קדושים וטהורים ובהם גאונים וצדיקים, ארזי לבנון אדירי התורה, בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם ובשאתי כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרו בצרור החיים את נשמתם. אדוני נחלתם וילכו בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר אמן. God, full of mercy, justice of widows and father of orphans, please do not be silent and hold your peace for the blood of Israel that was shed like water. Grant fitting rest on the wings of the divine presence in the heights of the holy and the pure who shine and radiate light like the radiance of heaven, to the souls of the millions of Jews, men, women and children who were murdered, slaughtered, burned, strangled and buried alive in the lands touched by the German enemy and its followers. They were all holy and pure. Among them were great scholars and righteous individuals, cedars of Lebanon and noble masters of Torah. May the Garden of Eden be their resting place. Therefore, Master of Compassion, shelter them in the shadow of your wings forever, and bind their souls in the bond of everlasting life. The Lord is their heritage. May they rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. We'll now recite a prayer for the Israeli soldiers and victims of terror. El mali rachamim shocheina b'amromim hametzei menucha nechona al kanfei hashechina b'malot kadoshim v'tahorim v'giborim kazohar ki amasirim et nishmot hakadoshim shenelchomu b'chol marchot Yisrael במחתרת ובצבא הגנה לישראל ונפלו במלחמתם ואת נשמות הקדושים שנרצחו בפיגועי טרור ומסרו נפשם על קדושת השם העם בארץ בעבור שאנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם לכן בעל הרחמים יסרים בשאתי כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם אדוני ונחלתם בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם וינוחו בשלום ממשכבותיהם ותעמוד לכל ישראל זכותם God, full of mercy, who dwells on high, grant fitting rest on the wings of the divine presence, in the heights of the holy, the pure and the brave, who shine like the radiance of heaven, to the souls of the holy ones who fought in any of Israel's battles, in clandestine operations, and in Israel's defense forces, who fell in battle, in terrorist atrocities, and who sacrificed their lives for the consecration of God's name, for the people and the land, and for this we pray for the ascent of their souls. Therefore, Master of Compassion, shelter them in the shadow of your wings forever, and bind their souls in the bond of everlasting life. The Lord is their heritage. May the Garden of Eden be their resting place. May they rest in peace. May their merit stand for all Israel, and may they receive their rewards at the end of days. And let us say, Amen. From here in Har Herzl overlooking Yad Vashem, by this very poignant memorial, from me in Jerusalem to you in Woodford, I wish you a meaningful Yom Kippur, an easy fast, and that we should all gather together as a community and as an entire Jewish people in the future.
Good morning. Before we begin the various Yizkor prayers, as is traditional on Yizkor in Shul, I'll share a few thoughts. As always, there is an appeal this year. The appeal is perhaps more online or through the Shul office, but actually you can give now because it's not yet Yom Tov. We've supported many worthy causes over the years, particularly one that stands out is Jamie partnership the last couple of years has allowed us to run a number of very important events for our community in the area of mental health and well-being. And we intend to continue that partnership. But the funds from this year's appeal are going to a very simple cause. As they say, charity begins at home. It's been a very difficult year, particularly with coronavirus. We've had to suddenly shift a lot of our programming and our services to online. We've had to provide a lot of welfare support and pastoral support. And we're running just as many programs and events as we ever were, just in different ways. And whatever happens in the coming year, please God, it should be a better year. There's no question we're going to need innovative programming and resources, and we're going to need help with all of those things. And doing all of that takes up time and costs money. So this year's appeal, very simply, is going to a project in our own community, care projects, welfare projects, educational projects, online presence, all the costs associated with that to ensure that we can continue to provide all those services in these difficult times when income is down for various reasons. So this year's appeal, every penny, will be supporting our own community. Please do give generously. You can do so at the end. We'll give you the details of how to do so online, on the screen, or you can contact the Shul office. And have in mind that this is your pledge for Yom Kippur. They tell the story of the three Jewish mothers who were sitting on a bench, arguing over whose son loves her the most. Number one says, you know, my son loves me so much. He sends me flowers for Shabbos and Yom Tov no matter what, even if he's traveling around the world on business. You call that love, says the second mother. My son calls me every day. That's nothing, says the third mother. My son goes to therapy 5 days a week. And what do you think he talks about? Me, that's all he talks about. We're about to say Yizkor. We'll say it again tomorrow. And Yizkor is a moment, whether it's before Yom Tov, whether it's on Yom Tov. It's a moment we invite the souls of our departed relatives, particularly those who are saying for our parents, to be with us at one of the high points of the year when we stand before God. It's not a small thing to engage and invite the souls of our dearly departed parents to come and join us. And what's in it for them? What nachas are we giving them? Why would we bring a parent out of Gan Eden, out of paradise, at this time of year, particularly around Yom Kippur, where surely the heavens are shining? It's a great place to be. Why would we want to get them to come and join us instead? So the first question you have to ask is, what is the actual function of a parent in a child's life? And then perhaps we can understand the relevance to this time of year and to our relationship with God. We hear a lot about unconditional love. Children want it, parents claim to give it. So what is unconditional love? Like many concepts, you might kind of get it, you don't really know what it is, everyone talks about it, unconditional love, unconditional love. Let's try to put it in practical terms. Unconditional love, there's no point in it being an illusion that somehow we experience from our parents and we give to our children, or even a delusion. It has to be something real. We have to actually know what it is. What is it we're receiving and giving? So beyond being a buzzword, something we all want, let's really get to the heart and soul of what unconditional love is. Let's look at the primary purpose of parents in their child's lives. And a friend of mine was telling me that from his own life, there were times, he said, he had to point out to his children that there may be 7 or however many billion people on this planet they could befriend, but they only have one father. And not to turn that unique relationship with the father or the mother into just another 1 in a 7-8 billion relationship. There's a book by Michael Gerber called E-Myth Revisited. And he explains there, what is a true entrepreneur? Somebody who fills all the positions in his company with others, and then he does the things that only he can do. You know, there are deep and Torah true teachings about the relationship between spouses. King Solomon chooses that relationship, and that love as a metaphor for our relationship with the Almighty, 2 halves of a whole. In the final analysis, though, unfortunately, divorce is both a biblical and a real possibility, and it does sometimes happen. But a parent and child cannot divorce. If the most practical implication and message of unconditional love is, I will always be there for you no matter what, then that exists in the parent-child relationship, not even in a spouse relationship. And that's what Yizkor, Yom Kippur, is all about. You know, the joke I told about the son who speaks to the therapist every day about his mother is far from a joke. Parents, particularly Jewish mothers, who are so powerful in our lives, carry some of the deepest blockages and challenges in their child's life, way into adulthood, not just in the negative, but in the positive as well. They say a child who has experienced unconditional love of a mother can conquer the world. Why? Very simple. Because in our lives, the first higher power we come across is our parents. Our paradigm, our understanding, our emotional relationship with God is through the lens of our relationship with our parents. How do we understand God's unconditional love? Avinu Malkeinu, our Father. It's a direct reflection of our own experience of our parents' unconditional love for us. Being able to pray to Him and experience praying to Him is a direct effect of, as children, being able to ask and be answered by our parents. And so on Yom Kippur and at Yizkor, when we ask God to forgive us, to bless us, and to care for us, it's Yizkor with our parents, which is so crucial. I once heard someone say that the goal of a parent in their child's life is to make their position unnecessary. As Mr. Gerber said in his book, to do only the things that only you can do. All the other things, let someone else do it. Teach your children to stand on their own feet. If you did your job as a parent right, you've created a platform that your child shouldn't be dependent upon you. And so the ironic, bittersweet reward of being a parent is when your child flies the nest on their own. And as they fly away, they look back at you and say, don't worry, it's under control. And of course you worry, because you're their parent. And you know they're going to fail, probably more than once. But you also know that hopefully you've instilled in them the ability, the wherewithal to deal with them, to learn and grow from disappointment in a healthy way. How do we do this for our children? And how do we receive it even now from our parents? And from ourselves, dare I say. To understand the one and only thing a parent needs to impart to the child, to experience unconditional love, is what a wise rabbi once told this student. Your job is to connect the person to God and then get out of the way. The hard part is not the first. It's easy to connect the person with God. It's the second part, especially for parents. How do I know they'll be okay? How do I know their relationship with God and themselves will be successful? It's a classical syndrome of Jewish parents, the savior, the Mashiach, Messiah complex, the white knight syndrome. We want to save everyone. We want to protect our children. We support them. We prop them up even into adulthood. The way to overcome that is give them what they need to believe in themselves. So when they say, I've got this, Mum, Dad, don't worry, it's under control. We believe them, we lead them to it. There's an interesting book by a chap called John Bradshaw called Healing the Shame That Binds You. He speaks about the fact we are human beings and not human doings. He says the shame that binds us and stops us from returning, from teshuvah, from growing, is when we see ourselves by our doings rather than our being. And I would suggest that for Yom Kippur and Yizkor, that the experience of a parent's unconditional love for their child is the message of being rather than the message of doing. The message of being is that you are whole, you are complete, you are enough. That's unconditional love. Many parents are afraid. If I tell my child that they're doing sufficiently, that they are sufficient, they are enough, they'll feel they're not doing enough. They'll stop growing, they'll stop doing more. And God forbid, they won't grow up to be successful. What those parents fail to realize is that the message the child hears is that you can do better. And they don't hear you are good enough. And they internalize they have no value as a person. Only what they do, what they accomplish. How often do we hear people talk about their children's accomplishments? And all they hear with that is, I'm not doing enough. And so many times in the Bible, God tells us, he tells Joshua, Israel has sinned. He tells us, even when you've stumbled in iniquity, you can still return. The Talmud tells us, even when the Jewish people sin, they're still called Israel. The Baal HaTanya says, even when we sin, our core being remains faithful to God, even when the sin is committed. And our parents come to us, Yom Kippur, time of Yizkor, and they shower us with unconditional love. And they tell us, you are enough. You are whole. But you can take a horse to water and you can't make it drink. And so we are also stubborn. There are many things that stop us hearing the call of our parents or of our previous generations, whether it comes from paradise or whether they're right here with us. Maybe they're alive and well. Maybe they're living in a different city. And that unconditional love that tells us, you are enough. We worry too much about what we're doing and not enough about our essential being. Yom Kippur is a time of forgiveness. It's a time of healing, time to accept that beingness, to recognize what we are, a soul with a spark of godliness. That transcends all the other things. Our beingness is sufficient. Our parents gave us unconditional love. They continue to give us unconditional love. And we aspire to give that to our own children, our own grandchildren. And the message of unconditional love is very simple. You are enough. And the message of a parent is, we are enough. We are whole. Look at our being, not at what we're doing. When we get to the core of that, we can truly return, and we can truly grow. May we all connect with our dear parents, be they in our midst or in the next world. May we all internalize the message of unconditional love and of acceptance of who we are, of our being, not about just our accomplishments and our doing. May we all grow. May we all be inspired and inscribed
I hope everyone can hear me. I just put a link on the chat to the actual Yizkor, which you can download, wfus.org.uk/Yizkor. If you're using a Max, it's page 470 in the art scroll or page 118 in the Routledge. Apologies that I'm not in Shul. Shul is being cleaned at the moment, and so we have to make do with this virtual Shul. We'll start with the preliminary readings, then we'll give people time to recite their own Yizkor prayers for their family members. And then after that, we'll say the communal prayer for those who have passed away in the past year, and also all those who submitted names. And we'll conclude with a Don Olam at the end. Adonai ma adam v'tedaehu ben enosh v'tchashvehu. O Lord, what is man that you regard him, or the son of man that you take account of him? Man is like vanity, his days are but a shadow that passes away. In the morning he blooms and sprouts afresh. In the evening he is cut down and withers. So teach us to number our days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. Mark the innocent man and behold the upright. The latter end of that man is peace. But God will redeem my soul from the grasp of the grave. He will receive me, Selah. My flesh and my heart may fail, but you, God, are the strength of my heart and my portion forever. The dust returns to the earth as it was. Who gave it? I shall behold your face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with your likeness. Father of mercy, in your hand are the souls of the living and the dead. May your comfort soothe our hearts as we remember on this sacred day our revered and beloved kinsfolk who have gone to their eternal rest. We think of dear parents, the crown of our heads and our glory, whose desire it was to train us in the way of virtue and righteousness, to teach us your statutes and precepts, to instruct us to do justice and to love mercy. We beseech you, O Lord, grant us strength to remain faithful to their teachings while the breath of life is within us. May their souls repose in the land of life, beholding your majesty and delighting in your reward. And now, O good and beneficent God, what shall we say? What shall we speak to you? Our needs are so manifold, we cannot declare them. We are filled with shame as we think of all the goodness you have dealt unto us. O turn in mercy and loving kindness to the supplication of your servants, who now pour out their souls before you. May your loving kindness not leave us. Give us our daily sustenance, and let us not be in need of the gifts of flesh and blood. Remove from us care and sorrow, distress and fear, shame and contempt. Strengthen us in our reverence for you, and fortify us to keep your perfect law. Entrust us with the joy of training our sons and daughters and future generations to keep your commandments and to perform your will all the days of their lives. O Lord, take us not in the middle of our days, but let us complete in peace the number of our years. We know our life is frail, our days are but a handbreadth. So help us, O God of salvation, to live before you in truth and uprightness during the years of our pilgrimage. And when it should please take us from this earth, be there with us. May our souls be bound up in the bond of life with the souls of our parents, with the righteous who stand before you in heaven. Amen. We'll pause for people to recite their personal Yizkor prayers for about 5 minutes, and then we'll continue with the communal memorial prayers. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
We're now going to recite the memorial prayers for those who passed away during the year and those who sent names in. If you're still saying Yizkor, please do continue at your own pace as we say the communal prayers. We're now going to recite a memorial prayer for all those who passed away during the past year. We are particularly mindful of those who did not have the opportunity or other way during the past year. 1 second. We're now going to recite a memorial prayer for all those who passed away during the past year since last Rosh Hashanah. We are particularly mindful of those who, due to the COVID-19 outbreak, did not have the opportunity for the normal Shiva or other memorial services or Kaddish, and we wish everyone long life, only simchas, and good health. I'll read the English names and then we'll do the Hebrew prayer. We are remembering at this time the following people: Adrian Katz, Ray Harris, Gerald Shamitz, Mavis Megan, Lily Fine, David Bond, Rebecca Beck, Ralph Hart, Michael Manning, Joe Compton, Norman Friedman, Norman Markham, Harry Jackson, Mari Cohen, Clive Bednash, Isidore Shogger, Alfred Fertig, Natalie Levine, Charles Kay, Uri Cohen's brother and sister, Frank Berelson's brother, Montague Ward, Lynette Gold, Stacey Coulouet, Ruth Lewis, Graham Wingard, Neil Cohen, Francis Tapper, Joan Topol, Henry Spivak, Betty Grant, Philip Schwartz, Herbert Simons, Valerie Tiller, Cindy Miller's brother, Gerald Lee, Anne Medallia, Sybil Pomerantz, Reverend Leslie Moncton, Marlene Russell, Eva Sherman, Elise Foe's mother, Henry Felstein's mother, Karen Collins, Gary Bergman, Paul Pollin, Ronald Palmer, Lynette Gauman, Chaz and Brian Seagal, and Helen DeHaan. We wish everyone long life. Chaim Aruchim. El Malirachamim, Shoichein Bamaroimim, Hamatei Menucha Nechaina, Al Kampei HaShechina, B'malois Kadoshim Toirim, Kazarik Masirim, Es Nishamois, Yehudis Bas Wolf, Yes Rachel Bas David, Yes Velvel Ben Moshe, Yes Miriam Bas Yaakov, Yes Leah Sar Bas Avram, Yes David Ben Gabriel, Yes Rivka Bas Yitzchok, Yes Rafal Ben Moshe, Yes Michal Levish Ben Yosef HaKohen, Yes Yosef Bas Ephraim HaKohen, Yes Nosson Ben Shloimei, Yes Nochem Ben Herschel, Yes Zvi Ben Shimon HaLevi, Yes Miriam Bas Shimon HaLevi, Ves Zvi Kalman Ben Ze'ev, Ves Yitzhak Ben Avraham, Ves Anshel Ben Aaron Halevi, Ves Natalie Bas Baruch, Ves Shaya Ben Tzmi, Ves Mordechai Ben Dova Kohen, Ves Leachana Bas Raphael, Ves Soralea Bas Raphael Ben Yomin, Ves Riva Davor Bas Yaakov Tzvi Alevi, Ves Yaakov Ben Avraham, Ves Francis Bas Mordechai, Ves Yehudis Bas Shlomo, Ves Aaron Ben Yisrael, Ves Rivka Bas Herschel, Ves Feivel Ben Mordechai, Ves Chaim Yosef Ben Baruch, Ves Vega Golda Bas Feivel HaKohen, Ves Sholem Ben Aliyah, Ves Chana Bas Rechaiko Meir, Ves Sheba Bracha Bas David, Ves Eliezer Ben Yitzchok, Ves Miriam Chana Bas Shlomo, Ves Chava Bas David Alevi, Ves Gittel Bas Mordechai, Ves Yehuda Ben Moshe Meir, Ves Pesach Ben Rafal Yitzchok, Ves Reuven Ben Meir, Ves Leah Bas Chai, Ves Aaron Ben Yitzchok, Ves Herschel Bas Shmuel, Ves Leah Bas Pesach Alevi, Shalchu Leilamam, Alav Rachamim, Yaserim B'Seisek, Alav Lioi Lamim, Yitzor B'Tzachamis Nishmas, Amali Lo Nachal Asam, Yanuch B'Shem Mishkavay Sam, V'Neimar, Amen. I'm now going to read out the names with the memorial prayer of all those who sent in names for inclusion. It's more or less in alphabetical order. Just a reminder that this is the reading that we're going to do, and the names will also be displayed in the foyer in Shul throughout Yom Tov. But the actual Yom Tov services for Yizkor, due to time constraints and trying to minimize large amounts of time spent together, we won't actually do the full reading of the names. So this is the formal reading and memorial prayer for this year that we would have done in Shul. And hopefully this way we can include everyone at home. El Malay Rachamim, Shoichei Bamroimim, Hamatzei Menucha Nechayna, Av Kampei HaShechina, B'Ma'alois Kaveshim Tarim, Kazaya Haraki Amashirim, Es Nishamois. Audrey Angel's parents and Irving Angel's parents. Gabriel Ben Moshe, yes, Pasha Bas Meir Yankov, yes, Avram Yehuda Ben Mordechai Menachem, yes, Miriam Bas Yitzhak HaLevi, and Irving Angel's brother. Yes, Matisyahu Ben Avram Yehuda, Shirley Ashton's first husband, second husband, and mother. Yes, Koppel Ben Tzvi, yes, Ari Ben Levish Daniel, yes, Pasel Bas Yehuda Ber, Ivor Barwin's parents, and Judy Barwin's parents. Yes, Aaron Ben Altam, yes, Chana Bas Chaim, yes, Shia Ben Yaakov, yes, Beila Bas Yitzchok, Lisa Batashvili, her husband and father, Geraldine and Michael Batashvili for their father, Shabdelio Ben Arab Yitzchok, yes, Moshe Yankov Ben Ephraim Feivel, Natalie Benden's father, yes, Yitzchok Yaakov Ben Menachem, Howard Bentley's father, yes, Mordechai Ben Shlomo, Lisa Bentley's father, yes, Chona Ben Hirsch Kohen, Sheila Bentley's father, mother, brothers, husband. Yes, Mordechai Ben Meir. Yes, Caleb Bas Avraham. Yes, Avram Ben Mordechai. Yes, Shlomo Ben Mordechai. Yes, Daniel Ben Mordechai. Stuart Berg's parents and sister. Yes, Mordechai Levi Ben Avraham. Yes, Rachel Bas Mordechai Levi. Yes, Chana Bas Mordechai. Ronnie Bergenthal's father. Yes, Yechezkel Ben Mordechai. David Bernstein's parents, and David and Alison's late daughter. Yes, Sodok Eliezer Ben Levi, yes, Tobit Devar Bas David Yehuda, yes, Ahuva Esther, Bas David Yehuda, Eddie Bieber's father, mother, and uncle. Yes, Feivel Ben Eliyahu, yes, Gittel Bas Moshe,
Yes, Aaron ben Eliyahu, Ernest Bloom's husband and parents. Yes, Yizkor ben Meir, yes, Morris ben Abram, yes, Rose ben Abbas Abraham, Joanne Bloom's father, yes, Yechiel ben Meir, Maureen Bloom's parents, yes, Chaim ben Yisrael HaKohen, yes, Sorbas Avram Levi, Wolf Bloom's parents, yes, Moshe ben Wolf, yes, Elka Bas Naphtali, Lionel Box's parents, and Trudy Box's parents. Hashel ben Avram, yes, Sorbas Avram, yes, Shmuel ben Avram, yes, Sorbas Avram, Richard Bourne's parents and Rosalind Bourne's parents. Yes, Moshe ben Eliezer, yes, Leika bas Shachna, yes, Morris ben Abram, yes, Sheila bas Sora, Simon Brander's father and mother, yes, Yosef ben Shmuel, yes, Chasa Bruloma bas Naphtali Hertz, Omri Brandman's parents, yes, Avram David ben Aram, yes, Rocha bas Avram, Ray Brandman's wife and parents, yes, Nachama Rivka bas David, yes, Yitzhak Yaakov ben Yisrael HaKohen, yes, Jonah bas Reb Osha HaKohen, Barbara Breen's parents, Miss Lisha Ben Fievel, Miss Malcolm Bas Yehuda Bear, Philippa Broer's husband and parents, Miss Moshe Yonkel Ben Ephraim Fievel, Miss Nosson Nota Ben Eliezer Halevi, yes, Cyril Bashmul Fievel, Sharon Broer's father and grandparents and great aunt, yes, Nachman Tzvi Ben Yaakov Halevi, yes, Yaakov Ben Nachman Tzvi, yes, Esther Malcolm Bas Chaim Mordechai, yes, Tavor Bas Chaim Mordechai, Tova Brown, parents and sister, Michael Brown's mother and brother. Yes, Rachman ben Yechezkel, yes, Leah Bas Miriam, yes, Miriam Bas Leah, yes, Leah Bas Sloa, yes, Yaakov Bas Shlomo, Cecily Burke's husband, yes, Aaron ben Ruvain, Phil Kaplan's parents and Sally Kaplan's parents. Yes, Binyamin ben Nissim HaKohen, yes, Shusha Bas Yaakov, yes, Svi ben Shmuel, yes, Malcolm Bas Motka Simcha, Ray Carver's parents, grandparents, and uncle, and Corinne's mother, uncle, and grandmother. Yes, Yichel ben Yitzhak, yes, Masha bas Chaim Mordechai, yes, Yitzhak ben Yechiel, yes, Hodi bas Lachmiel, yes, Chaim Mordechai ben Tzvi, yes, Chava bas Mendel, yes, Berlisha ben Chaim Mordechai, yes, Rivka bas Moshe, yes, Binyamin ben Yoshev, yes, Malkadina bas Avram, Paul Casper's parents and uncles, yes, Yaakov ben Yosef Tzvi, yes, Rezel bas Yisrael, yes, Yisrael ben Yosef Tzvi, yes, Chaim ben Yosef Tzvi, yes, Moshe ben Yosef Tzvi, yes, Shetzel ben Yosef Tzvi, Deborah Chananko's father, yes, Mordechai ben Shimon, Reba Cohen's husband, parents, and brother, yes, Freilach ben Tzvi Cohen, yes, Avram Michael, yes, the Verbas Avram, yes, Aaron Yaakov ben Avram Michael, Uri Cohen's wife, and father, mother, and brothers. Yes, Aliza bas Yosef Sukari, yes, Shimon ben Eliyahu Cohen, yes, Mary bas Menachem Howard, yes, Sion ben Shimon Cohen, yes, Yaakov ben Shimon Cohen, Doris Collier's husband and parents, yes, Hillel ben Chaim Dover Cohen, yes, Esther bas Pinchas Meir, yes, Zvi ben Eli, Athena Daniel's father, yes, Israel Yitzhak Yechezkel ben Yitzhak Chaim, David Deborah's parents, yes, Reuben ben David, yes, Lulu bas Chatan Binyamin Kohen, Brian Deal's parents, aunt, and grandparents, yes, Kroll ben Beryl, yes, Bela bas Reuben, yes, Sarah bas Reuben, yes, Beryl ben Shmuel, yes, Brian bas Yitzhak, yes, Reuben ben Shochav, yes, Molka bas Mendel, Ruth Drake's husband, yes, Tzvi Meir ben Avram Nosson Alevi, David Fenton's parents, yes, Yehuda ben David Tzvi, yes, Golda bas Leib, Robert Fine's parents, yes, Avram ben Shlomo, yes, Leah Sora bas Avram, Lorraine's parents, yes, Avram ben Yosef, yes, Shlomo bas Chaim, Anita Frankel's husband and parents, yes, Dov ben Menzimis, Merke ben Chaim, yes, Rosal bas Rachmiel, Anthony Fox's father, Michelle Fox's father, yes, Nochem ben Avram, yes, Yechiel ben Meir, Adrian Frankel's parents and Linda's parents. Yes, Avram ben Yitzhak, yes, Leah bas Reb Aryeh Levi, yes, Zeid ben Ozer, yes, Chava bas Avraham, Raymond Frankel's father, Denise Frankel's parents. Stove ben Sion, yes, Chaim ben Avram, yes, Rivka bas Avram, Martin Gauman's parents. Yes, Yerachmiel ben Reb Mordechai Levi, B.S. Leah bas Pesach Levi, Madeline Garfield's parents, sister and aunt. Yes, David ben Aaron Levi, yes, Yudis bas Rab Mordechai David, yes, Nachama Rivka bas David, yes, Lena bas Rab Mordechai David, Martin G's parents and brother, Sonia G's parents, sister and aunt. Yes, Monash ben Avram, yes, Avner bas Yitzhak, yes, Avram ben Yisrael, yes, Fishel ben Avram, yes, Yizkor bas Shalom Yichel, yes, Rucha bas Ephraim, yes, Chana bas Avraham, yes, Krendel bas Monash Leib, Raina G's father, Shmuel ben Yeshua, Trevor Geppert's parents, and Avis Geppert's parents and brother. Ves Fagel Bashmul, Ves Michal ben Avram, Ves Louis ben Wolf, Ves Rachel Bas Avram, yes, Yaakov ben Levi, Tony Gilbert's parents, and Jane's parents. Yes, Yehuda ben Meves Le Bas Moshe, yes, Yosef ben Avram, yes, Shina Rachel Bas Baruch, Rita Goldbart's husband. Yes, Yaakov ben Dov, Dennis Grant's parents, sister and brother and uncle and son, Lucille's parents and brothers. Yes, Moshe ben Yehuda Levi, yes, Yasper Bas Rabbi Cheskel, yes, Beryl ben David, yes, Leah Bas Moshe, yes, Lazarus ben Herschel, yes, Shnezam ben Yehuda Levi, yes, Simcha ben Yaakov, yes, Hinda Bas Shloima, yes, Moshe ben Simcha, yes, El ben Simcha, yes, Gedalia Yonkola Levi, Ronald Grant's parents and brother, Marlene Grant's parents and sisters. Yes, Gedalia Yonkola Levi, yes, Yita Bas Moshe, yes, Moshe Aaron ben Anshel Gedalia, yes, Ben Yomen Yoel ben Shmuel, yes, Gittel Rocha Bas Moshe, yes, Vegele Bas Ben Yomen Yoel, yes, Yita Bas Ben Yomen Yoel, Sheila Groman for her husband, parents and parents-in-law, and Martine Groman Marks and Janine Nathan for their father. Yisrael ben Meir, yes, Ben Yomen ben Avraham, yes, Rivka Bas Shmuel, yes, Maya ben Yitzhak, yes, Ray, Bela Bas Lev, Sam Grossman for his mother, Suzanne for her parents, yes, Rocha Bas Elimelech, yes, Mashmirin Bas Ari Lev, yes, Mordechai So ben Shimon HaKohen, Denise Harris for her father, Henoch ben Yitzhak, Martin Harris for his parents, yes, Zalman ben Tzvi, yes, Rocha Bas Yosef, Philip Harris for his mother, yes, Jean Bas Pierce, Stuart Hertzberg for his parents, yes, Dober ben Herschel, yes, Leah Bas Chana, Carol Hoppen for her parents, Lawrence for his parents, uncles and aunt, yes, Shraga ben Tzvi, yes, Malcolm yes, Reb Avram Chaim Yitzchak, yes, Hershel Avram ben Lepka, yes, Eitel Gittel Bas Yitzchak, yes, Moshe ben Yitzchak HaKohen, yes, Miriam Bas Yitzchak HaKohen, yes, Yitzchak ben Lepka, Stella Isaacs for her husband, parents and brother. Yes, Avram ben Noach, yes, Ari Leib ben Yisrael Zeib, yes, Fegel Bas Hillel, yes, Aaron ben Ari Leib, Sandra Isaacs for her husband, yes, Yaakov ben Herzl, Gerald Isbit for his parents, and Francis Isbit for her parents, uncle and aunt. Yaakov ben Herzl, yes, Hershel ben Moshe Alevi, yes, Freda Bas Avram, yes, Mordechai ben Yosef, yes, Minutver Bas Yudah Moshe, yes, Arab Nosson ben Avram, yes, Rini ben Bas Avraham, Rita Itzkovitz for her husband and mother, Gabriel ben Shmuel HaKohen, yes, Lutzka Bas Shimon, Doreen Jacobs for her husband, father and mother and sister, Robin Jacobs and Harvey Jacobs for their father. Zev ben Yosef Yudah, yes, Yona ben David, yes, Hannah Bas Belvis, Genendel Bas Yona, Jeanette Jacobs for her father. Yes, Abram ben Noach, Philippa Joseph for her parents, yes, Mordechai Meir ben Michael, yes, Brian Bas ben Yomin, Rosalind Joseph for her parents. Yes, Gadali ben Tzvi Zev, yes, Mary Malka Bas Yoshua, Bernard K for his parents. Yes, Kissel Kasriel Kligerman, yes, Sora Kligerman, Shirley K for her parents and brother. Yes, Chaim ben Shmuel Chaim, yes, Naecha Bas Avram, yes, David ben Chaim Beryl, Martin K for his father. Yes, Yidol Hershel ben Yitzhak Yisroel, Yvonne K for parents, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, father-in-law. Yes, Dave Nachman ben Osher Zelig, yes, Rivka Bas Belvis, Hilda Bas Avram, yes, Patsy Bas Avram, yes, Svi ben Avraham, Errol Klein for her husband and parents. Yes, Yitzhak ben Wolf, yes, Avigdor ben Shmuel, yes, Pastor Bas Yudah Bear, Raymond Klein for his father and mother. Yes, Nissan ben Moshe, yes, Vega Bas Chaim Hirsch, Lester Cliff for his parents, Amanda for her parents and brother and sister. Yes, Shir ben Mordechai, yes, Chai Bas Mordechai, yes, David ben Avram, yes, Pesa Bas Pinchas, yes, Yaakov ben David, yes, Janice Bas David, Barbara Lasher for her husband, parents-in-law and mother. Yes, Betzalel Chaim ben Avram Avinu, yes, Doit ben Zion, yes, Chai Bas Malk, yes, Miriam Bas Avraham, Morris Lautman for his parents. Yes, Reuven Shimon ben Shmuel, yes, Leila Bas Moshe, Nova Lautman for her parents. Yes, Peres ben Tzvi, yes, Rika Bas Simcha, Adela Littman for her parents. Yitzhak ben Nassan, yes, Ethel Bas David, Barry Lazarus, his parents, Barbara for her parents, and for their son. Zimel ben Yisrael, yes, Balka Bas Avram, yes, Reuben David ben Beryl, yes, Yichol ben Reuben, yes, Malka Bas David, Beryl Levine for her mother, yes, Esther Bas Chaim, Anthony Levy for his parents, and Linda for her parents. Yes, Yichol ben Chaim, yes, Miriam Bas Binyamin, yes, Maya Henoch ben Chaim, yes, Miriam Bas Laser, Martin Levy for his parents, and Barbara Levy for her parents and brother. Yosef ben Yechiel Meir Halevi, yes, Rachel Bas Meir, yes, Yaakov ben Tzvi Hirsch, yes, Rachel Bas Al Yakum, yes, Yitzhak Elisha ben Yaakov, Jonathan Lewis for his parents and sisters, and Deborah Lewis for her mother and brother. Yes, David ben Shmuel, yes, Rocha bas Yaakov, yes, Esther bas David, yes, Fego bas David, yes, Chana Basi bas Yisrael, yes, Daniel Mordechai ben Yisrael, Warren Lewis for his parents and uncle, Ralph ben Avram, yes, Esther bas Avram, yes, Monty ben Avraham, Janice Lewis for her parents, yes, Max ben Avram, yes, Ilian bas Avraham, Brian Lindsay for his father, husband of, Rosalind Lindsay for her mother, and Thelma Lindsay for her husband, parents, and cousin. Yes, Yo Yitzhak ben Yisrael Leib HaLevi, yes, Fego bas Yosef, yes, Aaron Leib ben Shmuel, yes, Rocha bas Yosef, yes, Dennis ben Leib, Sean Linton for his father. Yes, Eliezer ben Shmuel, Barry van Lowen for his parents, and Bernice van Lowen for her parents. Baruch ben Meir, yes, Rivka bas Avram, yes, Rafa ben Hanania Cohen, yes, Malcolm bas Avraham, Malcolm Markovich for his parents, and Beverly Markovich for her parents and sister. Yes, Jonathan ben Moshe Yosef, yes, Yudis bas Yaakov, yes, Yosef ben Levi, yes, Bela bas Yaakov, yes, Blima bas Yosef, David Markovich for his parents and sister, Diane for her parents. Yes, Shlomo ben Moshe Yosef, yes, Basheva bas Tanchum, yes, Rivka Tirza bas Shlomo, yes, Acharon ben Moshe, yes, Bela bas Chaim, David Markham for his parents, and Deborah Markham for her parents. Tova bas Hershov, yes, Nachum ben Hershov, yes, Yaakov ben Yitzchok, yes, Chava bas David HaLevi, Valerie Marks for her husband and parents. Yes, Mendel ben Shmuel, yes, Yehuda ben Yaakov, yes, Rommel bas Mordechai, Michael Medalia for his parents, brother, grandmother, and aunt. Yes, Shmuel ben Yoel, yes, Chana bas Chaykel Meir, yes, Yoel ben Shmuel, yes, Rezel bas Rafov, yes, Leiber bas Yoel, and Rosalind Medalia for her parents and aunt. Yes, Ella Yael Chaim ben Yisrael Avram, yes, Gela Rivka bas Moshe, yes, Gittel bas Moshe, and Elaine Mitchell for her husband and father and mother-in-law. Yes, Melech ben Moshe, Shlomo Meir ben Avram, yes, Gertrude bas Avraham, David Miller for his parents. Yes, Yitzhak Yosef ben Yaakov Tov, yes, Masi Chaya bas Kaufman, Stephen Miller for his parents, Cora for her parents. Yes, Shlomo ben Yehuda Lev, yes, Bela bas Lev, yes, Reuven ben Nechemiah, yes, Brian bas Avraham, Ben Mulish for his father, husband of Sharon, Sharon for her father. Yes, David ben Sion, yes, Yosef Meir ben Shlomo Yitzchak HaLevi, Alan Murray for his parents and grandparents. Yes, Yaakov ben David Mendel, yes, Ganasha bas Svi, yes, David Mendel ben Yaakov, yes, Sor bas Yaakov, yes, Svi ben Elia, yes, Zisel bas Gershon, Ian Napa for his parents and Susan Napa for her parents. Yes, Shmuel ben Chaim, yes, Rivka bas Moshe, yes, Vaivish David ben Yitzchak, yes, Pasha bas Leva, Gregory Nathan for his parents. Yes, Lazy Yisrael ben Mordechai Levi, yes, Miriam bas Godol, Barry Nyman for his parents. Yes, Chaim Yitzhak ben Eliezer Moshe, yes, Rachel Leah bas Feivel, Donald Nesbitt for his father, and Francis Nesbitt for her parents. Yes, Feivel ben Michal, yes, Moshe ben Yisrael David, yes, Shana bas Aaron, Janice Oster for her parents. Yes, Yisrael ben Eliezer, yes, Sarah bas Ruvain, Mark Phillips for his father and for his nephew, Heather Phillips for her parents. Yes, Shraga Yitzhak ben Ruvain, yes, Reuven ben Yitzhak, yes, Rafal Aaron ben Chaim, yes, Roch bas Yosef, Howard Prince for his father. Yes, Moshe ben Tzvi HaLevi, Julian Rainsby for his parents and grandparents and aunts, Pamela for her father and mother, parents, aunts and grandparents. Yes, Meir ben Avram Shlomo HaLevi, yes, Bela Rivka bas Asher David, yes, Asher David ben Avram Chaim, yes, Sarah bas Chaim Eli, yes, Rachel bas Shlomo, yes, Esther bas Avram Shlomo HaLevi, yes, Miriam bas Avram Shlomo HaLevi, yes, Shmuel ben Chaim, yes, Miriam bas Shmuel Moshe, yes, Rachel bas Shmuel Moshe, yes, Sarah bas Not HaLevi, yes, Shmuel Moshe ben Mordechai, yes, Chaim ben Moshe Zein, yes, Rivka bas Yitzchok, Martin Richards for his parents, and Jill Richards for her parents. Yes, Feivel ben Mordechai, yes, Miriam bas Yitzchok, yes, Shlomo ben Levi HaLevi, yes, Malchus bas Save Wolf, Amelia Rose for her husband, parents, and daughter. Yes, Yishai ben Yisrael, yes, Chaim ben Yosef, yes, Chana bas Yisrael, yes, Rivka bas Yishai, David Rose for his parents, and Beverly for her father. Yes, Shlomo ben Moshe, yes, Sarah bas David, yes, Benjamin Levi ben Shmuel HaLevi, Jeff Rosenberg for his parents. Yes, Moshe ben Yitzhak, yes, Fego Rocha bas Chaskel, Baron Rosenfeld for her husband and parents. Yes, Yosef ben Avram, yes, Pesach ben Moshe, yes, Fego bas Yaakov, Evelyn Russell for her parents. Yes, Eliyahu ben Shmuel HaLevi, yes, Nehemiah, Nechama bas Shmuel, Rafi and Catherine Sachs, and Daniel Abbey for their daughter, and Catherine for her father. Yes, Chava Bas Rachel Tzvi. Yes, Moshe ben Mordechai. John Safa for his parents, Paula Safa for her parents. Yes, Hinda Bas Tzvi Mordechai Levi. Yes, Nosan Nota ben Chaim Yaakov. Yes, Shraga ben Yashav. Yes, Rosa Bas Tevia. Marilyn Sampson for her parents, Stephen for his father. Yes, Yitzhak ben Herman. Yes, Rivka Bas Ignis. Yitzhak ben Aaron. Jeffrey Safa for his parents and his former wife. Yes, Yaakov ben Yisrael. Yes, Simcha Bas Nosan. Yes, Yudis Bas Chaim. Carol Siegel for her parents. Yes, Velva ben Moshe. Yes, Sarah Bas Yitzchok. Lee Schwartz for his parents. Yes, Binyamin ben Tzvi Hirsch. Yes, Chana Bas Yeshaya Leib. Anne Shear for her husband and parents. Jeffrey Shear for his father. Yes, Avram Yosef ben Oshavis. Zev ben Yaakovis. Rivka Bas Berol. Lorraine Shear for her father. Yes, Tobin ben Shmuel. Sharon Shepherd for her parents. Yes, Nochem ben Zalmai ben Yosef Bas Avram HaKohen. Henry Strong for his parents. Yes, Label ben Moshe, Sima Bas Zev. Serena Strong for her parents. Yes, Yosef ben Yitzchok Yehudavis. Rivka Bas Gedalia. Stephen Strong for his parents. Yes, Label ben Moshe. Yes, Sima Bas Ze'eh. Melvin Samuels for his parents. Brenda Samuels for her mother. Yes, Shmuel ben Avram. Yes, Pola Bas Avram. Yes, Leah Bas Avraham. Victoria Samuel for her husband, father, and mother. Yes, Rafal ben Menachem Mansour. Yes, Shmuel ben Menachem HaKohen. Yes, Sar Ashes Shmuel HaKohen. Robert Shafran for his father and Karen for her parents. Yes, Moshe ben Tzvi Hirsch. Yes, Mordechai ben Michal. Yes, Barnabas ben Yomin. Melissa Shafran for her husband, father of Adam and Jamie. Yes, Yitzhak and Isha ben Yaakov. Yes, Jeffrey Shear for his father and father-in-law. Avram Yosef ben Oshves, David ben Shmuel. Jackie Steinberg for her husband, father and mother. Yes, Chona ben Hirschwitz, Avram ben Yaakovis, Baino Bas Hershel Chaim, Martin Scheinman for his wife. Yes, Pesha Bela Bas Abraham. Leela Simmons for parents and husband. Yes, Avram Levish Chaim ben Abraham. Yes, Moshe ben Yaakovis, Chaya Bas Moshe. Laura Simons for her husband. Yes, Moshe ben Shia, Jean Silver for her parents and husband. Yes, Reuven ben Shmuel, yes, Louis ben Abraham, yes, Sarbas Abraham. Sonia Stone for her husband, parents, and brother. Sally has ben Tzvi Dovin, yes, Avram Yaakov ben Yehuda Leib. Yes, Sarbas and Moshe, yes, Shraga Fivish ben Avram Yaakov. Brian Sinclair for his father and late partner. Avram Meir ben Shia. Yes, Michal Bas Yosef. Graham Taylor for his father, Belinda for her parents and brother. Yes, Chona ben Baruch, yes, Shlomo ben Levo, yes, Elder Bas Avram, yes, Levo ben Shlomo. John Wallace for his wife. Yes, Sarah Bas Aaron, Rita Watt for her husband and son. Yes, Sidney ben Avram, yes, Shlomo ben Yisrael. Malcolm Westby for his parents, and Janice Westby for her parents and brother. Yes, Yosef ben Yitzchak, yes, Esther Bas Leib, yes, Zvi ben Yaakov Ariel. Yes, Esther Bas Maya, yes, Zvi Kalma ben Zev. Jeffrey Windish for his father and mother. Yes, Yitzchak ben Yosef, yes, Rivka Bas Avram. Denise Windish for her father. Yes, Mordechai ben Moshe. Barbara Reitman for her parents and stepfather and for one of the victims of the Shoah. Yes, Menachem ben Yaakov, yes, Yisrael Bas Chaim Nosson, yes, Yisrael ben Moshe Levi. Yes, Yudah Moskovitz. Michael Wolfman for his mother. Yes, Sprinter Bas Yaakov. Ivan Zacharak for his parents and Sharon for her parents. Yes, Level Yudah ben Yitzchak, yes, Fredo Bas Chaim HaKohen. Yes, Avram ben Anshel Levi, yes, Ruchel Bas Meir. Gary Zilberschatz for his parents and grandparents. Mandy Zilberschatz for her mother. Yes, Aaron ben Gabriel Alevi, yes, Chava Bas Avram Yitzchak, yes, Am Yitzchak ben Mordechai, yes, Rivka Bas Binyamin, yes, Gabriel ben Wolf, yes, Sipor Feiga Bas Issa Hirsch, yes, Chanat Sipor Bas Shmuel Edelman, Shachor Loilamam, Anam Alachamim, Yasirim Besei, Second Rabbi Oilamim, Yitzchak ben Tzacham, yes, Nishma, Samad Nachal Asam, Yenuchem B'Shlom Mishkavai Sam, B'Neimar, Amen.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. I wish you a good Yom Tov Gemar Chasim Tova. And a reminder that we'll be streaming Kol Nidre at 5:30 p.m. and that Kol Nidre's shul starts at 6:33 p.m. If anyone's missed this broadcast, it will be available shortly to watch as a video on YouTube or on Facebook. Thank you very much, everyone. Just a reminder, when you say Yizkor on Yom Tov, which you should still do, We always make a pledge to tzedakah of your choice, so don't forget to do that as well. May we all be sealed in the book of life for a good year, for a healthy year, for a much safer year for you and your families. I hope that we can see each other in person again very, very soon. I wish everyone a very good Yom Tov. A Gemar Chasima Tova.
Adonai.